Good evening. Welcome to the Falls Township Board of Supervisors meeting for November 20th, 2018. We'll begin with the salute to the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Mr. Brasky?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dents?
Here.
Mr. Rocco?
Here.
Okay, thank you. Apologize for the delayed start. We had an executive session before the meeting. Mr. Clark, can we have a summary, please?
Yes, Mr. Harvey. During the executive session, the board discussed several personnel matters.
Okay, thank you. We're going to begin our meeting tonight with a couple presentations. The first one we're very proud to make, and we're glad to have this gentleman here this evening. Back in May, the American Legion Post here in Falls Township, well, I was going to say had their parade, but they actually didn't have their parade due to bad weather. The Grand Marshal of that parade, Mr. Edward Bunting, is here this evening, and we want to honor him for his service and his in more ways than one, his longevity here in this township with the proclamation. So I'm just going to read this here. Whereas Edward G. Bunting Sr., a 65-year resident of Falls Township, an original Levittown homeowner, was chosen by the American Legion Post 834 as their 2018 Memorial Day Parade Grand Marshal. And whereas Mr. Bunting, who celebrated his 100th birthday in 2018, did serve his nation in the United States Army Air Force from 1943 to 1946, and in the Air Force Reserves until 1950. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of the Township of Falls, on behalf of the citizens of Falls, does hereby issue this proclamation to Edward G. Bunting Sr., expressing its sincere congratulations on being named Memorial Day Grand Marshal, and our gratitude for his dedication and service to the United States of America, proclaimed this 20th day of November 2018. It's our honor to have Mr. Bunting here, and I'll ask for a motion to approve this proclamation.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Bunting?
Thank you.
That's perfect. I kind of can't see Jennifer asking. Too many jobs.
You get it, Kat?
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
You too, Dave. Thank you, guys.
Ms. Catalinas, if you can send those pictures to me via email, I can make sure they get them. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's thank Mr. Bunting's son and daughter for bringing him here this evening. He was recently in the hospital, so we're really proud to have him here tonight.
So just so you know, not every executive session. Exciting as that one.
Okay. All right, we're going to continue with our presentations. We have Mr. Brian Andrews here from our Park and Rec Department, and he has some presentations he would like to make.
It was indeed.
Evening, everyone. Good seeing everyone again. Fall Parks and Recreation held its second annual Scarecrow Contest down at the community park this October through early November. We had 3 winners. We had 11 entries this year, up from we had about 7 entries last year, up to 11 this year. Great participation. I don't know if anybody got a chance to check them out. Some really cool entries. So we're here to honor the winners tonight. We have a first, second, and third place winner. I'm going to announce the winners, have them come up, accept the certificate. They each get a $25 MasterCard gift card, too, they can use for their programs and organizations. So without further ado, we'll start with third place. Boy Scout Troop 53, the Elk Patrol. They had the Darth Vader Scarecrow.
Nice, nice.
Congratulations. Just hang tight over here. Hang tight. Our second place winner couldn't be here tonight. They have a bake sale. Girl Scout Daisy Troop 2703. They had the Daisy Power Scarecrow. I've made arrangements to get them their award and I'll present that to them later. So without further ado, our first place winner, second year in a row, Walt Disney Kids Care. They did Gru and the Minions. Come on up. They also had kids at Girl Scouts. Congratulations. That's your gift card. Great.
Put your right hand on the.
Yeah, Brian, bring him up here.
Want to go right up there?
Up here, you can stand up. Just come on up in front of you.
You want me to go get the public comment sign-in sheets?
Balance out. Have a couple things. Yeah, you can move over a little. Slide over this way. There we go. He's not sure. He did all the work. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you guys for participating. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. All right, and thank you, Mr. Andrews, and your staff for all the work you guys put into it. Okay, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great holiday.
Thank you, you too. Okay, move to public comments. First name we have on the list is Danielle Bush.
Hello. What do we do with this thing? Just wanted to move that out of my face. Hi, good evening.
Evening.
My name is Danielle Bush, and this is my colleague Tim Philpott, and we are from the United Way of Bucks County. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to briefly address the board and the community about our need for warehouse space to help more families in need. United Way of Bucks County has been bringing the community together to address the needs of Bucks County residents for over 64 years. For the past 52 years, our office has been located on Hood Boulevard in Fairless Hills in Falls Township. One of the ways we make a difference in the community is through our in-kind donations program. In general, in-kind gifts to a nonprofit is anything other than cash. It can be volunteer time or it could be goods. In our case, our vast majority of in-kind donations are brand new housewares and home goods. We currently have relationships with several big box retail stores like Bed Bath & Beyond, Walmart, and Disney Store. On a weekly basis, we pick up their unsellable, returns, their discontinued and damaged items. We receive everything from comforters, pillows, sheets, towels, pots and pans, small electronics. If you were to drive by our office on Hood Boulevard, now that you know where it is, on the side of our building is a little shed, and Tim here has got a picture of it. It's a broken down little building. Literally, it is. It's very close to needing to be totally replaced. It's roughly about 15 by 20 foot in size, and this is where caseworkers and families come to shop for free for these donated goods. In fact, this is the only shed of this type in the entire county. Sometimes we're helping parents recovering from addiction and finally being reunited with their families. Sometimes it's people who have lost everything or are escaping a home with domestic violence. Sometimes it's whole families, a mother and a father and children, who are finally in their own place after experiencing homelessness. I have to tell you real quick that a few months ago, we had an older woman who was homeless for a long period of time. She came to shop in the shed. That's what nonprofits call it, shopping in the shed. I opened the doors, and she looked inside, and immediately her eyes filled up with tears. She said, "You have pillows here?" And I said, "Yes." "Can I have a pillow?" When I gave her that pillow, she hugged that pillow almost like a child hugs a stuffed animal. She had been living on the street and haven't had a place to rest her head for a long period of time. But she finally found an apartment, but she had nothing to put in it, and that's why she was at the shed. She shopped, and as she was leaving, she had some linens in her hand, and she had that pillow in her other arm. That meant the world to her. In this case, we gave that woman a pillow. That's something that each of us, every night, take for granted when we lay our heads down at night. Through the shed, we are giving families items they are not able to afford while they're trying to get back on their feet. Some of them are working several part-time jobs just to keep their new home and would never have anything left in their budgets to buy things that are extras that make a home a home. In 2017, the United Way of Bucks County helped over 10,000 people with $1.1 million worth of in-kind goods through this little broken down building. But there is still more need. Along with our partners, we've been able to help more homeless people in Bucks County get into a place of their own. Right now, we have hundreds of families in either rapid rehousing or transitional housing across the county. These individuals or families have a place to call their own, but it's empty. They don't have a place to sit, they don't have a couch, they don't have a bed, they don't have a table to eat dinner at, or to have their children do their homework on. But we have an opportunity to change this. We have an opportunity to be able to bring 53-foot trailer loads full of furniture, mattresses, and houseware items into the county to help these families. But we need warehouse space. We're looking for an in-kind donation of large, securable storage space, accessible Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, a loading dock able to accommodate a 53-foot trailer, adequate lighting to sort donations, and accessible.
You're fine. Keep
Oh.
going. That's right.
I'm almost done. To nonprofit staff and volunteers, and if available, rack system to store pallets. We're coming here tonight to ask you for your help. We'd like to ask you if you know of possible leads for this type of donations, for this type of space in Falls Township. If you have any suggestions on who we might contact, or where we might look, or if the township might have a building that's not currently occupied, that meet the requirements that we could use. I'd also like to ask the community, if you're interested in helping us find a space, to please don't hesitate to reach out to me at 215-949-1660, extension 112. I want to thank you again for allowing Tim and I to come here tonight to present our need, and we want to wish everybody here a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming. Well, first off, thank you and Tim for all the work that you do. It's usually not something that people see. They know that there's this United Way. They see ad campaigns on TV and things of that nature, but what exactly do they do is you're operating very much under the radar. So this is, I think, a great way to let people know what you're doing, how much need there is. And certainly we can, this program will keep running for at least the next month. We'll keep it running for at least the next month. And we can also probably, link information to the website and our cable channel to make sure that your phone number, for example, something that people don't have to keep replaying the video to find out what it is. And we can definitely talk, amongst ourselves. And Mr. Rocco already gave you a lead. We can talk amongst ourselves and even with our staff here. Our code enforcement and fire marshal usually are very up on vacant spaces and home and property owners who might be interested in this kind of thing. So we'll do what we can. And if anybody out in the public obviously can help, it doesn't have to be us. Doesn't matter who helps you. I mean, so thank you again.
But just to be clear, do you guys have an area? I know, you spoke a lot about home and home people at homes, and this has been your home. So is this what you're looking for, to stay Falls Township, in Falls Township, or do you have a certain?
Prefer Falls Township because it would make staffing and supervision of volunteers a lot easier for for me and our staff.
Right.
And if not Falls Township, Lower Bucks somewhere.
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I know you emailed me, info on the program, so
Yeah,
I can share that with Pete, and
that would be great.
we could try to get that up on the
Anything
website.
you can do would be
Okay.
great.
Okay.
Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Thank
much.
you. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks.
Daniel Zadnik. I don't know if that's right or not. Yes? Okay.
Hi, Danielle Zadnik. I'm a Falls Township resident. Bear with me, public speaking is not something I'm comfortable with at all, but I feel pretty passionate about this, so
Okay.
wanted to come out and publicly express my concerns about Elcon. I understand that there's another side to the environmental aspect. There's taxes and potential of jobs, but after a lot of reading and listening to both sides of it, and having a scientific background, I really feel that there are more concerns than there are positive for the community with Elcon comes in here. I know a lot of people have come forth and expressed these concerns. I know it's recently come back as a topic because they're in their second phase of applying to be here. I guess, from what I understand, our county is, I think, the second highest level of pollution in the state. If I understand correctly, that's behind Philadelphia, but in front of Lehigh County that has Allentown and Bethlehem. We're ahead of Pittsburgh. So I find that really concerning. It helps me understand why so many kids and adults have allergy and asthma problems in our area. So my biggest concern is bringing in a company that is going to be a significant contributor to the nitrogen oxide. There could be other companies that could come in here. This one has a lot of risks associated with it, but if you just even ignore all the risks and you just look at the application about what they will contribute, it's going to be barely under the regulations. If I understand it correctly, the Federal Clean Air Act and Pennsylvania law allows local governments like ours to create air standards that are more strict than the state or federal laws, so that in a situation like ours where we already have a very high pollution level, we could sit down and come up with an ordinance, a Clean Air Act ordinance, that would not allow companies that are going to be high polluters to come into our county. And from what I understand, you could grandfather in current companies so that the current corporations that are already polluting aren't going to feel, attacked. So you could grandfather those people in. So basically, that's it. I mean, I have a lot more concerns associated with Elcon, but I would say that's my highest concern. I just wanted to be one of the people who sits back and is quiet and stand up and say, hey, I'm really against this, and I'd really like to see our township do something about this.
Okay.
That's
All right.
it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You did a nice job.
Do you have any comment on it?
We don't have any project in front of us right now. Elcon obviously is going through its Phase 2 application with the DEP. We're kept abreast of that. I know there was recently a review letter, which I think was on Friday. I think it was Friday or Thursday, There was like a sort of a 17 or 18-page review letter that went through everything they had, deficiencies in, and so that's part of the process. It's obviously a several-month process, but we have no plans in front of us to look at. They have not submitted anything to us. They have asked to submit something before they got their DEP application, and we told them no, that we will not look at anything until they get DEP approval. And so that's, I think they were hoping to sort of do one before the other, and it's not something we're interested in doing. So,
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, have you guys had any discussions, though, about taking any preventative steps like a clean
we have
air
gotten a copy of
ordinance?
we did get a copy of the Clean Air Ordinance draft, kind of from someone that's in the room, let's say. Our attorney has reviewed that and will be giving us his feedback in the next couple days, probably, or a week or so after the holiday. So, and then from there we'll decide what action to take. But okay.
Okay,
Right.
thanks.
Thanks. Lisa Farrell.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Lisa Farrell, Falls Township resident, and you obviously know I'm here about Elcon. I just wanted to maybe bring up some things that we need to think about as a whole picture scenario. Like, I believe it's something like over 2,500-year floods have occurred in the last 10 years, which is not very good for us. North Carolina, Houston, all these people have been affected by either poor infrastructure, poor planning. But it doesn't mean that this can't happen here. And with Elcon situated half a mile from the river, it's not very far-fetched to think that a 500-year flood can happen here. That and matter is neither created or destroyed. So when you have chemicals coming in to be processed at Elcon, you've got all these different trucks coming in, you've got all these tanks being filled, and then you're processing this stuff. You don't really know, and I don't think they know, what chemical reactions are actually going to be occurring, because I don't think they really know what's coming in. So, in my opinion, we need to understand that whatever's being created when they do this processing could either be bad or maybe non-noxious. These are the things that we need to think about. You have 100 grams of coal, then you burn it, and you end up with 100 grams of coal. So all this stuff isn't going anywhere. It's there, maybe in a different form or shape. So those are just the big picture things that I think we need to still think about with Elcon. And then, as this lovely woman just said, you get the picture of the other stuff too. So that's it.
All right. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too. Those are all the names on the resident sign-in sheet. Are there any other residents who wish to speak? A gentleman in the back come on up. Just state your name, and then we'll.
I'm Michael Mullen.
But when you get to the thing, that's all. Yeah, sorry.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the board this evening. I appreciate that. My name is Michael Mullen. I'm about 63-year resident of this township, born in Fallsington, lived there most of my life. I'm here to speak about Elcon after reading and reviewing a lot of the material that I've seen actually online. And just wanted to say a little history. I remember as a child in Fallsington being able to drink the water out of a well in Fallsington. And today, if you look at that same water, it's actually brown. And I believe it's actually against the law to drill a well in Falls Township. So that tells you what we've done to the environment here in Falls Township over the years, with the addition of many companies that already exist here, Groves Landfill being part of that. A lot of the property down, probably U.S. Steel is actually probably a Superfund site at this far as I'm concerned. So speaking about Elcon, I came to offer my petition to the board that I feel we need to be better stewards of our environment. We need to start looking at improving the conditions that we currently have rather than adding to them by allowing more pollutants into the township. It is imperative that the board respect the health and welfare of the citizens of Falls Township, okay? I realize the tax base could be improved by allowing some of these people in. However, you know, maybe help us build bridges and roads, whatever. But if we're too sick to drive, they're not going to help us very much. So it's just my personal opinion. As a resident, I felt it was my responsibility to come and provide that opinion to you fellows today, and ladies, excuse me. And I will end by saying, I see the sign, Falls Township, first and finest. I hate to see it turn into first and worst environmental polluter. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Yes, sir. Yep.
People, this is cool.
Well, it's not really that, yeah, sorry.
More important than me.
Maybe I don't know about that either. What's, just state your name, that's all.
Greg Thompson, Vermilion Hills. I usually don't get involved in this kind of stuff, but it's when it starts to feel like it's starting to threaten my family, my homestead, bringing in something, of course, Alcon, that's the topic. Sorry, I should have said that first.
It's okay.
It just feels that we're in jeopardy with this company. I mean, they have the worst track record over in Israel. I mean, I've done some reading online with these people. These people are a danger. And we're trying to bring these, like most of these companies that do this poison change into whatever they do, are like out in the middle of nowhere. Like it would take you like a day to get to them. Like there's no humans. I bet you if we're that place where, I think you guys call it Money Island or whatever, I think within a few minutes, you have a house. Nobody can run if something happens at that plant, if something bad comes in there. Some of those chemicals, I've studied some of those chemicals. They're nasty. They will snuff you out in a second. If not, if they don't kill you, you're going to be in a hospital, then eventually probably perish. But I just felt to myself as just a regular person living in, I've only been here 5 years. I want to basically be taken out in a box here. I love this town. I love my neighborhood. It's great. They roll up the streets at 6 o'clock. Where else can you get that? Everybody says hi to you. I mean, I have Galloway down the street from me because I'm on Viewpoint. I knocked on every door the other night when they had the little update at the library. Knocked on every one, got every person to open their door. Asked them about Alcon. Everybody knew about it. Nobody wants it. If you start to go to the other V's in my neighborhood, you'll probably find that a lot of people don't want this. We can do something else maybe with the land. Maybe not quite make it as brown as it currently is, but something, turning like one of those fashionable Penn's Landing things with, the little shops that look like an old-fashioned town and they have condos above it. Increase your tax base that way. Something that's going to be like, wow, they have that up there. I want to go up there and visit. I don't want to come up to the Love Canal or come home and Falls Township exit and find out it's fenced off and says, I can't enter because they had a spill down by the Elcon, and now my real estate is worth crap. I can't live there. My family could have gotten hurt, and I can't get to them. I can't. That's pretty much all I have to say. Just a major concern, basically, of the rest of our town, the rest of the people that live here. This shouldn't be. I mean, I thought it was dead at phase 1 when I spoke to you, I think back in May of 17, and a few emails we corresponded with too.
Okay.
But the one thing that kind of bothered me a little bit in my crawl was if the DEP passes it, the Bucks County Commissioners pass it, there's nothing we can do.
We have the final say, right? Yeah, the Bucks County Commissioners don't have any say.
They don't have, they're not like over us to the point where we have no
Not with-
control
not
about our
with-
own life.
No, not with land.
No, they have
development,
nothing to do with land development here in the township.
Okay, good. Well, that's pretty much all I have to say. I appreciate it. Thank you for
Okay.
taking the time.
All right,
Happy
thank you.
Thanksgiving to everybody.
But just to be clear quick, we're not bringing this to Elcon into the township, right? Because you commented, you said that we're bringing Elcon to Falls Township.
Well, no, it's when I spoke to Mr. Harvey last year, I got the impression that we didn't have enough power in our own township to control our own township. If the DEP passed it, the Bucks County Commissioners passed it, the impression from a couple phone calls was as if we didn't have enough say to control our own lives in our own township,
Well, I think what I said.
which was kind of made me a little fearful. I mean, it might not be as much, I
was
might have
just trying to
taken
clear
more
up the
into it.
Like,
Yeah.
that, you know, when you spoke, you said that, is there something else we could be bringing? Like, we're, like, it makes it sound like that we're out looking for Elcon to bring Elcon.
Oh, no,
to
I
Falls
mean, like, so
Township.
when I said something to bring in was like bringing like a Penn's Landing-ish kind of thing,
Yeah.
as opposed to Elcon, basically the Black Plague.
Yeah, well, a couple things. First, I don't remember the specific conversation we had. I mean, what I have been telling people is that DEP is the first,
Right.
the big hurdle that Elcon has to get through. And obviously, with the concern about the chemicals that are coming in, the processes that are going on, that's that's the expertise that DEP has to review all that and insist that it meets the standards that the state and federal government has set out. Obviously, they come to us. We don't necessarily have the ability to do the scientific review.
Oh, yeah.
But the land development part is where we come in. Just with respect to the property down there, understand the property is private property. It's owned by U.S. Steel. Obviously, the steel mill wasn't there anymore, but it's still U.S. Steel property. So we really have no control over what they who they attract. If they want to go out and market it a certain way, there's nothing we can really do about that. The other consideration, just for the idea that it could be something besides, it could be a Penn's Landing, could be shops, could be homes. The landfill, the most recent landfill that opened a year and a half ago, something like that, Waste Management had to spend somewhere in the area of $10 million to clean that former U.S. Steel property so that it could be a landfill.
Had to clean it up to bring it up to standard to make it a trash dump.
In order for it to be a landfill, they had to do about $10 million worth of cleanup. The
Doesn't
property down
U.S.
there.
Steel have to do cleanup? They're,
Well,
like they're kind of operational
you would
enough,
think, but
quasi,
not-
so
not
they can get
usually-
around not paying for it?
Not usually the way steel operates. And again, that's something that we can't necessarily control. But the idea that it's going to be anything besides industry. Now, obviously, heavy industry versus light industry can be very, very different.
Right.
The amount of investment you'd have to do to make it something like a shopping area, a residential area, even a park is so cost prohibitive. Now, it doesn't mean that it has to be heavy industries.
Or even light industry, but a whole bunch of people,
It could be right.
as opposed to one giant
Right. It could be
factory
warehouses.
that's-
It could be many things. There's a lot of potential for it to be things. But that's just
Yeah.
sort of the bigger sort of long range.
Yeah, I just was kind of concerned. I know I'm not as eloquent as
No.
like you guys have had more practice at this than me.
Well,
But I usually don't get involved in this kind of stuff. But it was just one of those
no, I
points where
I just want to make sure that
I just
couple
want to make
things are
sure
clear,
that
that's all.
you guys are here for us,
No, we hear you.
and we're letting you know that we don't want this.
Yep, I hear you.
So
Yep.
that's pretty much it. Happy
Okay.
Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
letting me
Appreciate
speak.
it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Any other residents? See one in the back? Yes, ma'am.
I'm not used to public speaking, so if you'll
Okay.
excuse me, I'd appreciate it. My name is Joyce Thomas. I also live in Vermilion Hills. And my understanding, which may or may not be correct, is that you gentlemen have the final say as to whether or not Elcon is allowed to set up its business in Falls Township. Now, is that correct?
Right. If they go through DEP, then yes.
Well, they go through DEP, but you can vote it out. Am I correct in assuming,
You're correct that we
Okay.
have, yes. Yeah.
And you can also pass, I guess it would be an ordinance, so that they would not be allowed to come in here and put this
No.
type of pollution in our air?
No. We don't have the authority to regulate air quality. That's obviously something state or federal government has the power over. We don't have the power to do. What we can, the ordinance, for example, I mentioned earlier, the draft really would require, we could require businesses to include us more in issues. For example, if a company violates whatever they're permitted to put into the air, they have some kind of an issue where they have some kind of exhaust that goes out that above and beyond what they're allowed to do. They have to notify the state we are then notified by the state. They don't have to notify us directly. So that's sort of something that the ordinance would make us a primary recipient of that kind of warning.
And I
We
know
could
when I was
also-
at the meeting,
yeah.
they were talking about it had to be under a certain percentage, and, you know, they could make it.
No, we don't have the power to sort of supersede, I don't believe, Mr. Clark, what the state requires or sets.
It's something we're looking at the moment, so, and it's something we'll have more for the supervisors. But again, we have nothing in front of us from Elcon.
Right.
Nothing has been submitted to the township. They're going through the DEP process, but nothing has been submitted to the township. We don't have any land development plans. We don't have any application. We don't have any letter of intent. We don't have any zoning requests. We have nothing from Elcon.
Okay, so Bucks County is very polluted. It is below certain standards. One, I think, is the American Lung Association, and there's another one which I don't remember. Our township is extremely polluted. Between the two landfills, the, I think, incinerator, then the plant that cleans the land that's polluted. I don't understand how anyone could even consider putting this here. I was really thrilled tonight to see children here doing something fun and getting, you know, rewards for that. And I wish they had stayed, and I wish their parents could hear what's going on. Because these children, you know, we're all a little bit older, so it may not kill us. But they'll wind up with cancer and everything else. I have 9 grandchildren. I don't want them getting sick because of where they live. And the truth is, nobody will buy our homes. We'll be stuck here. And, you know, it breaks my heart, and I'll keep fighting against it so that we are not put in that position. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other residents? Okay, we'll move to the non-resident sign-in sheet. Lise Baxter?
Hi, Lisa Baxter, 208 Arborley Avenue. I was going to tell you about the letter with the deficiencies, but you already told everybody about that. I have a couple of questions. I did ask you in an email, but I didn't hear back. Is it possible, I know that you were looking at the zoning, and is it possible to change from heavy industrial to industrial? I know you said you can't change it to a shopping area and that kind of, is it possible to change some of the zoning from heavy industrial to industrial? Just doing that, I believe, would work in the right direction to reduce pollution.
It's possible to change the zoning of an area, yes. It's possible to do that. I mean, there's a process. It's not something we can just do. There has to be notice to the property owners, for example.
Right, but if you start working towards that, it would be a step in the right direction in terms of reducing pollution. And land use, I think, as far as I understand it, is up to the township in terms of deciding
I
that.
have to defer to our council, but you know,
Yeah.
obviously done more of that than I have. But
Yeah, and I definitely don't think you guys are out looking for Elcon. I never thought that, but I do think you can do something about it. They talked about the ordinance. I think that's obviously one way. You can, not just Elcon, but if Elcon it doesn't come here, or if Elcon does come here, it could also be another company like it, or polluting in a different way coming around the corner after it. So if you do enact a clean air ordinance, you can decide which path you want us to be on. If you want us to be on a better path, then enact a clean air ordinance so you direct where the township is going. And that would be one way to do it. And another way would be the land use. And I know you were saying that when the waste management came in, that they had to clean up for the landfill to come in. But it would be much nicer if they cleaned up and then put something nice, clean, green in rather than a landfill or, you know, that kind of thing. Let's see, I think I had one more question. Yeah, wondering what the township is doing to encourage green businesses or clean businesses, non-polluting businesses, and also what you would encourage us to do to help you.
The biggest, I mean, as a township, we've done several things of our own. We've planted over the past several years, how many trees, Mr.?
500.
over 500 trees in this township that we planted in various areas through our Park and Rec department.
But
And,
businesses, yeah.
And we're actually labeled by the Audubon Society as a bird town. So we have that. We were very good.
Well, that's great.
Environmental Advisory Council. Mr. Rocco led a charge a couple years ago to make every one of our streetlights, and we have 2,300, 2,800. How many was it?
Yeah, it's approximately 2,400.
Yeah, 2,300 streetlights to make them all LED so that they're more efficient. So that process has been done, and we're already seeing the benefits of that. Obviously, it's going to be energy benefits, but it's also cost savings to us. I authored the energy efficiency policy for this township about 12 years ago, which has kind of helped guide us in certain ways. We looked at putting solar panels on this building several years ago and just found that we don't actually use enough electricity in this building to make it financially worthwhile. We did pass we have a permit waiver for anybody that puts solar panels on their roofs, that they can waive the permit fees with anything associated. We did that several years ago. Mr. Dents was looking into a program which was called Berkeley First, which was modeled on Berkeley, California, where they offered loans, low-interest loans to any homeowner in their community that wanted to put solar panels on their homes. And unfortunately, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania doesn't allow us to do that. But it was something we looked to do, tried very hard to do that. We tried hard to get some businesses in here, but unfortunately we're not landowners. So we can try to encourage property owner who owns a big piece of property to sort of bring those companies in, but if they don't come here because the property owner isn't always real receptive.
Yeah, but if there's some kind of, I think you used to have reinitiating some kind of economic development.
Yeah, the CEDC is the Community and Economic Development Commission that we're kind of resurrecting. We've appointed one member, appoint probably another one tonight. Our hope is that they can do a lot, even through Ms. Catalinas, who does a lot of our public relations, trying to attract businesses here to Falls Township, mostly small businesses at this point, but we're looking to improve on that as well.
I would think there be something that, I don't know, some way of encouraging, some way of reaching out to green businesses, maybe having people help out. We would be more than happy to help.
Well, it's obviously we have at one time the largest solar panel farm on this side of the Mississippi River. It was in Falls Township. It's still one of the largest, and still here.
How about the state? Does the state have any resources?
The state helped with that when Governor, I think it was Rendell or maybe even Ridge was in office. Gamesa came here,
right.
To do that. We had AE Polysilicon for a while. They were making components for solar panels. They were here for a while. That was through state money, through state aid. I think that was Governor Rendell. Ironically, it was Secretary of Environmental Protection, Katie McGinty, who helped get them here.
Yeah.
But she has a different reputation now.
I guess the way I understand it is that if we don't want businesses like Elcon, and we don't want other also polluting businesses, we need to get green businesses or pollution-neutral businesses in here.
Right.
And I think most of us would probably like to help with that. And I don't know if there's got to be something the township can do and something that people in the township can do to work in that direction. Maybe even establish, if the five of you can establish some kind of commission or group or something where they can actually spend some time looking into that.
Right. Well, the CEDC is certainly something that they'll be able to put more effort into once we get that group populated. So, okay.
And you're advertising that and making some effort, like reaching out.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Sharon Furlong. I think it's Furlong. Is that right? Okay.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sharon Furlong. I'm a resident of Feasterville Trevose. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak here in Falls tonight, and happy holiday to both of you, all of you. Obviously, a lot of people have already started talking about Elcon in a way that is similar to each other in terms of how difficult this project will be for water, air standards, for health, for people's real estate values. But I wanted to talk about something else for your consideration when stuff comes in front of you. I know there isn't anything that you can do now, but to put this in the back of your head, and if you'll allow me, I actually have it on paper with everybody's name on it that I'd like to give you, if you'll give me permission to approach the... Sure. Okay, so I wanted to talk about jobs. So the information, and I'm very sorry about having to read this, but I don't remember a number, including my own telephone number, to save my life. So I'm going to have to read this. This is from Gerald Kaufman's article, Economic Value of Nature and Ecosystems in the Delaware River Basin, that was posted in the Journal of Contemporary Water Research and Education in 2016. So this is for the entire Delaware River Basin watershed area, and that is the river itself is approximately 198 miles, but mile 0 takes place in the middle of the Delaware Bay. So in essence, it's about 320 miles. And falls exist, and I am remembering this number, falls exists around the 133rd mile when measured from mile 0. So in this entire watershed area, and that's 4 states, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, there are approximately 600,000 jobs that are directly involved with a clean river and basin area. This does not include jobs involved with construction or water treatment, ports, transportation, or other sundry jobs that are not directly connected to recreation, preservation, or protection of the basin. The wages earned from these kinds of jobs totaled over $10 billion as of 2010. Revenue earned directly from forest, recreation, fish and wildlife, parks, and navigation totaled over $44 billion. These are not thousands, these are billions. Revenue from the entire 4-state area that included all types of jobs and secondarily direct businesses, that's businesses that support these industries, was estimated at $683 billion in 2010. The study period of this report, and I say see reference, and it is referenced at the end, ending in 2010, not 2016 when the article was written, estimated that over 3.5 million jobs of all kinds existed, with approximately $172 billion in wages paid to its workers. Estimates of future revenue, which would be beyond 2010 on, range from a low of over $683 billion to a high estimate of $3 trillion, and this was published in 2016. So this was after the recession, but before the stock market went skyrocketing, which of course crashed in the last four days. So water itself was not figured into any of this above written analysis. So if water itself is looked on as a commodity that has its own valuation, which is something that is occurring more and more around the world, is that they're actually trying to put economic value systems onto resources, and water being the main one at this point, then it's, along with carbon, then it is estimated that water itself contributed over $3.8 billion to the entire region, with 2.5 million coming to this area alone. So I don't have the exact figures for what it would break down for this area, but obviously, even though we're tiny here, we have a direct impact at almost a little over 1/3 up or down the river, however you want to look at it. It's around 50%. What goes on here is going to have a ripple effect, literally and figuratively, down the river. Now, 17 million people rely on this river for water. So a whole bunch of that occurs right below here. So this is the highest point of navigability, and has been since the white people came from Europe with big boats for a while. So that the Trenton area is where all navigability stops from, again, that bottom end up. So everything that means that happens here is going to go down. And there are 3 major intakes for water within miles from here, within 10 to 20 miles of here, for Camden, Philadelphia, and I'm forgetting the last one, so please forgive me. But so whatever happens here is going to go downstream. And for what? So let's go back to jobs. So what jobs will this project bring? Now, this is from Elcon's website itself. They say between 100 and 120 construction jobs at the beginning of the project, which of course goes away when the place is built. It doesn't also mean that they're going to be hired from anybody who's in this room or their family or anyone from around here. Those are also fairly technical jobs. But it gets a whole lot worse, because once the thing has been built, they feel that the amount of people they'll need, because it's a highly computerized industry, shouldn't say industry because obviously there's only one other thing sort of like this in the middle of the desert of Israel, but hasn't been built anywhere else to this specification or this largesse. So they think 50 to 55 people. Those people are going to be degreed up the yin-yang. So they're not going to be a regular average person who went to Bucks County Community College or Temple University or even the University of Pennsylvania. These people are going to be graduate and postgraduate people. This is a highly, highly specialized and pioneering field. So what's going to be left for Falls people who are sacrificing their lives, the lives of their children, their own financial future, the air and the water? The janitor? Is that going to be the job that's left? So compare to this entire watershed area to what this business can possibly offer. And I think that the answer is clear, that this is a consideration that we hope all of you take. By the way, I am representative of Bucks County Sierra Club and a spokesman for them and for the Bucks Environmental Action, and we have several thousand people as our membership. Thank you very much, and will you give me permission?
Sure.
Thank you.
One thing I do kind of want to make sure, and I'm assuming this isn't what you intended, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. There are certainly people in Falls Township who have a lot of degrees who would be highly qualified. I'm assuming you didn't mean that there's nobody in Falls Township who would have the ability to work at this facility because they're not smart enough.
No, not at all.
Okay.
And I'm very sorry if that's what it sounded like. What I'd like to add is that this is, I hate to use the word pioneering, because this is destructo land, but this has never been done. So the kind of degrees or the kind of experience is probably only a handful of people in the entire world. And so that's not putting down Bucks County or this area. It is saying that in industries such as this, as it is in the natural gas industry, as it is in pipeline construction, they bring their crews with them. So they don't usually hire from the area. They actually recruit from an international group of people that they've worked with. I hope that I didn't offend anybody, and thank you very much for bringing me to that attention, because I hope to speak to you again on another arcane issue, and I will make sure that I don't imply anything nasty about the wonderful people in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Claire Finkel? Claire Finkel?
Well, which one is it? This one?
They
Hello?
both work. Yep.
Most people have already said basically anything that I might say, except that I have to say I'm still confused about this ordinance. Like you have to wait for somebody else to approve it, and if they approve it, then you can't do anything.
Well,
I mean, what I heard that there was a town in New Jersey that Elcon failed to, they applied to build there and they failed because the local town denied them an ordinance, or they did something with the ordinance.
Okay, yeah, I don't know.
Well, it sounds to me like you guys are not that interested in this whole situation, because you don't seem to know anything.
Actually, we know quite a lot, ma'am, so I'm not going to let you
So
stand
are
here
you
and tell
going to
us.
these meetings and all that? Okay, are you going to these meetings?
We have not. We've been advised not to by our attorney, our solicitor.
Oh, wow.
Ma'am,
It's been
there
presented
is
to us.
nothing before the township right now. Elcon has not made any application.
Well, I
here
heard
in
you say,
Falls
but you're not,
There is
and you're not.
nothing for the township to rule on at this point in time. It's in front of the Department of Environmental Protection first. They
Okay.
have to permit it. Once they permit it, if Elcon chooses, they will file a land development application here in Falls Township. Then it will be before the board, and then there will be hearings and there will be presentations. But until then, there's nothing in front of us right now.
Okay, I hope can you highly publicize that so that it can be open to the public?
Would be, yes.
There's going to be several meetings. They would have to go before a planning commission twice. They would have to come before us twice. They'd have to go before our environmental advisory council once.
Assuming they
Those
get through
are
the
all
DEP.
right. This is all presuming they get through, and all of that would be on different nights, spread out over a couple of months. So
Okay, well, thank you. I guess that's...
obviously there's a little over a dozen people here, off of sort of messaging just amongst yourselves. You can imagine what it's going to be if there's actually something for us to listen
Okay,
to.
there's just one little other one though. Can you make ordinance against hazardous trucks passing through the town? Because they're going to have to.
We can only restrict traffic on roads that we have sort of control over. I mean, the PennDOT obviously has control over PennDOT roads. There actually, for example, there are restrictions that Falls Township passed decades ago about large waste vehicles on township roads.
Okay, all right.
We can't control state roads. That's obviously the state's job.
Okay, well, thanks for listening to me. I'll let some others.
Okay, well, we have one more name on the list. Thank you, Steve Sakay. Steve Sakay is the next person. So, yeah. No.
This cake.
Piece of cake. No.
Yeah, my name is Steve CK. I'm from Newtown, and thank you for allowing me to speak here tonight. A lot has already been said, so some of my prepared remarks are out the window. I just want to, well, first of all, thank you for the public service of being township supervisors. It's a thankless job, and you're not paid enough to handle all this because it is very difficult, and it is quite a responsibility because you have to think about yourselves and your careers and your political aspirations, but you also have to think about the people that you represent, and you have to think about the rules and regulations and all these procedures that kind of can seem to ordinary people as very burdensome and cumbersome, but something that you really do have to navigate with. So I kind of appreciate you doing all this. But I'm going to try to be a little human, spiritual, something that you can keep in your soul as you go through this process. Because it's just obvious. And we think about Thanksgiving, we think about people braving the ocean, the 1600s, coming to this land, and it was beautiful. It was clean air, clean water, clean land, and we've made a mess of it. We really have. We've done some great things. But when the gentleman here said that a few years ago he could drink the water and now it's brown, you have to realize that the actions that you're going to take over the next few months, you have a responsibility to stop that trend. And it's not for some, loony left environmental reason, but it's because of, sorry, Sharon, but it's for the health and safety and welfare of you, your wives, your loved ones, your kids, your grandchildren. I hope to have grandchildren one day. My daughter's visiting from Boston, and she still hasn't figured it out with her husband. So I'm so jealous of people who have grandchildren. One day I hope she figures it out. And I'll take I walk my dog at the Falls Park here. The dog loves it. I want to take my grandchild here. But I don't want them to get cancer. And the people who live here, you represent them. So I believe you're good people, and you're not duplicitous, and you're not going to sell us out for jobs and votes or union support for campaign contributions. I hope you're not going to do that. And you're good people, and a lot of you are Democrats, so I think you have environmental values that you uphold and you believe in sincerely. So don't get bogged down by the system. Try to keep focus on the light of what you should be doing, which is just obvious from a human point of view. We all want clean air, clean water, and clean land. And this project is just anathema to that and antithetical to it. And you have to figure out a way. If you have to go to Lakewood incognito, wearing a disguise, or send someone else to find out what they did to kill this project, do it. You know, because another thing that's motivating is political power. Some of you have ambitions maybe to move up to be a county commissioner. I worked heavily on the San Isidro campaign, and I knocked on 400 doors, I planted lawn signs, I wrote letters in the paper, and he got elected. And the next day I asked him, are you for or against this project? And he came out dead set against it. And that's the kind of people I will support. People who are dead set against this project. And if you can't figure out a way to make this project die, I will fight, and all my friends will fight against anyone who kind of pays lip service to say, well, I tried, but I couldn't do it, because you didn't try hard enough. And this project must be killed, and I will fight anyone in the political arena who has not been successful in killing this project. Thank you.
All right, those are all the names we have on the list. Thank you for everybody who came out to speak. We're going to move on with our agenda. We have a development project here that's been waiting a little bit, and their clock is running, so I'm sure the engineer and attorney don't mind too much, but the property owner probably minds a little bit. Okay. Item 2 on our agenda is Britton Realty of Marsville, LLC. This is an amended final plan. Mr. Gray?
Yes. Excuse me. The applicant's proposed project involves the creation of 12 leased lots and paved driveway with 24 parking spaces. Representing the applicant tonight is Mr. Heath Dumack.
You need help.
Thank you.
All right. Sounds good.
The gentleman at the podium doesn't look like Heath Dumack, so perhaps
No.
they are represented by
Yes.
someone else. And luckily for the gentleman at the podium.
And I can
I thought it
present.
was Heath Dumack's father. I didn't realize it was actually Heath Dumack.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike McGinnis. I'm here instead of Tom Hecker from Begley, Carlin, and Mandio, and we are here on behalf of Britton Realty of Morrisville, LLC, and we are seeking approval of a second final land development plan. This board may recall we were here for 2 prior iterations, and what is before the board tonight is basically a hybrid of the 2 plans, with really the main feature which Mr. Dumack will address is an improvement of the stormwater management plan, which really reverts it to an extent back to the original plan which was approved. Mr. Dumack, again of Dumack Engineering, will go through for the board the current iteration, and I just want to say as an aside, we are optimistic that the 3rd time is the charm, so to speak, and everyone is excited about finally moving forward with this project.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Hopefully this is a very fast presentation. The site itself is located at My Lane and the Superhighway. There's approximately 23 acres on the Falls Township side. There's a lesser area on the Morrisville side. The original land development plan that was approved back in September, October of 15 encompassed additional stormwater management controls that ran along and parallel with the Delaware Canal. A subsequent iteration took a lot of that out, and this iteration, which we're here before you tonight, is putting everything back in place. So we have multiple rain gardens here and along the canal with water piping into a 4-bay and retention system, detention-retention system. The waivers that we are requesting, I believe we've had granted twice so far.
I think they're identical, but we would basically be asking the board to reaffirm the prior waivers.
We are in the process. We've gotten approval from Morrisville Borough, from their borough engineer. We're in the process of getting our NPDES through soil conservation. And we're here tonight, basically, in essence, for a reaffirmation that what we have will get constructed and approved by you guys ultimately.
Okay. All right, comments or questions for Mr. McGinnis or Mr. Dumack? Mr. Galloway?
No question.
Mr. Boraski?
Thanks.
Vince? Mr. Rocco?
I'm good.
Mr. Sullivan, anything from you?
I have no comments, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Clark?
Nothing.
Nothing. All right. Yeah, as you said, you know, this is the third bite at the apple. We're hoping this one works out to the best. This would be what, resolution?
18-24.
24. Okay. And this would be an amended final plan. If there are no comments or questions, is there any public comment? See no hands. Is there a motion then to approve resolution 1824 granting amended final plan approval to Britton Realty of Marsville LLC, 1 MY Lane?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening and happy Thanksgiving.
Sure. Sorry for the wait.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, that's what. Thank you.
All right, item 3 is consider appointment by resolution to appoint an auditor for the 2018 financial audit. Mr. Gray?
Yes, the township recently received bids from 2 audit firms for the years 12/31, 2018, 19, and 20 for review of the financial statements. They were Major and Mastro, $22,000 for each of the 3 years. Zelenkowski Axelrod, $25,000 for each of the 3 years. And a third company was requested to supply a proposal but declined, and that was B. Bergville. Based on the information provided, the board is asked to consider Major and Mastro for the audit for the 2018 financials, and also include options to reappoint for the audit for 2019 and 2020. In addition, Ms. Rukoff is here for any questions you may have.
Okay, comments or questions for Mr. Gray or Ms. Rukoff?
No.
None.
No.
No? Well, since you're standing there, so how's the process work for an audit by an outside firm?
Well, the auditors review many of our processes. They review all of our internal controls. They go through a testing sample of all of our transactions, whether it be accounts payable, accounts receivable, payroll transactions. They sample them from beginning to end, run right through the process, make sure there are no irregularities. They run reports comparing prior years to the current year, look for anomalies. I am asked to review and explain any large differences from one year to the other, from the budget to the actual, from one year's actual to another year's actual. They pretty much go over all the figures from soup to nuts. They randomly sample various transactions, daily transactions, and take them through the entire process from beginning to end to see how that works. They also go over into the code department. They pull permits and look at that entire process, make sure that they're being calculated properly for the fees. And they interview at random again, usually 3 of the township staff. It could be anyone from someone on the police side to one of my staff members to a code member or someone from Park and Rec. And they sit and they talk with them to get a feel for irregularities and if there's any indication of fraud going on with the township. They're very thorough, very thorough.
About how long does that process take from the time they show up to the time They kind of, I know the report comes later, but from the time they leave the building, I guess. maybe.
Right. Well, they come in preliminarily for 2 or 3 days to get the updates on all of the internal controls and interview the people that they want to talk to and to gather up the preliminary documentation. And they do some testing of accounts payable at that time. After they get that, they come back again a couple months later for a full week. And they're in the office for a whole week examining all of our records for the year. Schedules that are prepared, variances are explained. And then I work with them for about another month or month and a half after that, preparing the financial statements, the notes to the financial statements, and then as an end result, preparing our CAFR for submission for the award. So, they're in the building maybe a week and a half total, but we're working together for a couple of months.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Just
You're
helping
welcome.
for people at home wanting to know a little bit about how that auditing process works. It's a pretty detailed, as you just heard, very detailed process that takes place over a long time.
Actually, I had one. How long have we been doing independent audit? How long?
Oh, always.
Always?
We've
We've
always had an independent CPA firm come in and do our audit, yes.
Do most municipalities do that as well?
Yeah, in my experience, yes.
Yeah, the large ones especially. I
Yeah.
guess there's some in central Pennsylvania that don't have a whole lot of people that the elected auditors could actually do
Pull
the
it off,
audit.
yeah.
Especially if they're auditors by profession, but not for something like our size.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
So, okay, all right. I don't think there's going to be any public comment for you or for the audit or anything. Any comments or questions about going with Major and Mastro LLC?
No.
Okay. This would be a resolution. It's 1825.
25.
Hiring the firm.
20 what?
25.
25.
Oh, I think it's 29.
Appointing Major and Mastro at the amount of $22,000 per year with the added years of 2019 and 2020 for those same amounts. And those are not to exceed 22,000. Okay. Okay, that's the resolution. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to stick with Mrs. Rukoff. It's her time to make the attorneys sort of slide out of the way. Hmm? Yeah.
He's stealing our snacks. He's not.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to go get some crackers probably.
Got a motive.
We're doing our budget presentation. I don't know if Mr. Gray, you want to intro anything? Just allow Ms. Rukoff to do this, waiting for our computer to move up here. That easel probably has to be moved, Pete. Pete, the black easel? Yes.
Oh, okay, which side it's on? I'm just gonna hit the light. It's hard to see. That'll get a little brighter, it's just warm enough.
Yeah, right now too. Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Okay, you're on.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to present the proposed budget for 2019 for your review. The proposed tax rate for 2019 is 7.22 mils, the same rate as 2018. There's no tax increase proposed for Falls Township's residents. 7 tax funds make up the total millage rate charged to township residents. The general fund is the chief operating fund of the township. The street lighting fund is used to account for the cost of electricity and maintenance of highway and street lights located in the township. The fire protection fund helps to support our 3 local fire companies. The fire hydrant fund is restricted to expenditures for the maintenance and repair of fire hydrants located within the township. Parks and Recreation Fund is restricted to the development of recreational programs and our township parks. The Library Fund helps to support the Fallsington Library, and the Rescue Squad Fund helps to support rescue squads serving our township. That brings us to our total millage rate of 7.22 mils. The millage distribution will remain unchanged for 2019. For every tax dollar paid in 2018, less than 4 cents was received by Falls Township. The balance was collected by the County of Bucks and Pennsbury School District. Residents' tax dollars are used to provide a full range of municipal services, including police and fire protection, construction and maintenance of streets and storm sewers, recycling, residential solid waste pickup, zoning regulations, building inspections, parks and recreational activities, and the maintenance and replacement of streetlights. Contributions to fire companies, rescue squads, and the library that serve Falls Township residents are also funded through our real estate tax dollars. These services all come at a comparatively small cost to our taxpayers. Based on an assessment of $30,000, a Falls Township resident can expect to pay $216.60. This is by far, as you can see, the lowest of our neighboring municipalities. Our neighboring municipalities' figures also include assessments for trash and leaf pickups that are free to Falls Township residents due to our partnership with Waste Management. Some of the highlights of the 2019 proposed budget. Our 2019 projected revenues, which include reliance by the general fund on host community fees of $16.8 million, reliance by the general fund on resource recovery fees of $950,000, and additional projected revenues including our local services tax, cable TV franchise fees, real estate transfer taxes, building, electrical, and fire permits, and state pension system assistance. Regarding our 2019 pension obligation, the state pension assistance that the township receives has remained relatively static. The township's minimum municipal obligation, however, has risen dramatically. As shown by the red line on this chart, the township's pension obligation doubled from $1.3 million in 2012 to $2.6 million in 2017. For 2018, our pension obligation was over $2.8 million. For 2019, the township has budgeted $2,828,993. As you can see, the assistance we receive from the state does little to offset our rising pension costs. The net cost for the township is projected to be $2.2 million for 2019. Budgeted expenditures from the general fund total $21,856,991. 56% of that amount, or $12.3 million, is used to provide police services to our community. Some 2019 proposed capital projects. The Township Road Program will continue in 2019. Construction and engineering for this project is budgeted at $2,825,000. Public Works Department anticipates completing mill and overlay project on Gobles Court for $40,750. $244,000 has been budgeted for improvements to the intersection of the Levittown and Mill Creek Parkways, as well as the intersection of West Trenton and Alden Avenues. PennDOT will provide matching funding through their Green Light Go grant. The existing culvert on South Olds Boulevard is exhibiting multiple areas of extreme wear and potential failure. The replacement of the current corrugated metal pipe culvert system by a single-span concrete arch structure is projected at a cost of $620,000. There are currently many dead or dying trees in the community park, creating a hazardous situation for our park visitors. Many of our trees have been infested by the emerald ash borer. We have budgeted $80,000 to continue the tree trimming and removal that was begun in 2018. The emerald ash borer is a highly destructive invasive species of beetle native to northeastern Asia. For more information on the emerald ash borer and the damage that it causes, please see the Township website Parks and Recreation page. There's a link there for more information. The purchase of vehicles, computer equipment, firearms training and supplies, and various other equipment for the police department have been budgeted at a combined total of $470,000. And the Public Works Department is in need of 3 replacement vehicles for road work and snow plowing. These vehicles and various other equipment have been budgeted at a total cost of $198,093. $195,000 is budgeted for the purchase of a new emergency generator large enough to power the entire township building in the event of a power outage. The construction of an additional wood pavilion at the Pinewood Pool, as well as the replacement of the umbrella pump motor and the water chemistry controller, are budgeted at a combined cost of $53,445. And Parks and Recreation proposes the tear-out of the existing fencing and boards at the Community Park hockey rink and replacing them with a powder-coated steel dasher board system that would include new cyclone fencing, player benches, penalty boxes, and a timekeeper box. The hockey rink will also be resurfaced. $101,000 has been budgeted for these improvements. Based on the proposed budget, a total of $33,920,781 is projected to be spent in the year 2019. The budget schedule for 2019 includes tonight's discussion of the budget, advertisement of the budget on November 26th, additional discussions from November 20th through December 18th, public inspection of the proposed budget from November 27th to December 17th, and adoption of the 2019 budget at the December 18th Board of Supervisors meeting. The opening and closing photographs on this evening's slideshow are submissions to the Parks and Recreation Fall Photo Contest by participants Bernard Barton and Fred Backus. And that concludes our presentation of the 2019 proposed budget. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that and all the work you put into it. It's a several-month process. I think in the most recent, Township newsletter, we talked about the budget process. So I want to thank all the department heads, and Mr. Gray and Mrs. Rukoff for all the work they put into it. Any comments or questions, Mrs. Rukoff, regarding the budget?
No questions.
None. No.
Again, we're advertising this evening, and as you saw, we'll come back to vote on the budget in our regular December meeting. If there's no comment or questions, the vote tonight will be to advertise, and this will be posted, as Ms. Rukoff said, in various areas for people to review. One mention of public comment. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Mariani? Oh, all in favor? Sorry. Forgot
Aye.
that part. Forgot that step.
The budget is the most important managerial tool available to this government or any other. It establishes the policy and is the financial method by which policy decisions are going to be implemented. So I want to address some policy decisions that I want this board to consider when you're going to advertise this. And let's start with host fees, because I'm constantly on that year after year after year. We continue to use host fees as our major funding source for our budgets. I continue to say normal operating expenses should be supported solely by taxes. The reason for this is because it reminds taxpayers what the real cost of government is And if you had the government had the tax every time they wanted to do something unnecessarily, you wouldn't have that much unnecessary spending. So I'm asking us, while we're in the process of doing this, to move away from host fees as the main source of funding and expand our tax base. The other reason is I look at host fees as the major funding source, and to me, that's risky business. The one thing that always sticks out with me is health care. Now, employees' health care costs increased by 5.5% in 2018. That was up 4.6% from 17. Our budget at that time indicated an increase of 7.3, which is above the average. Now, the Kaiser Family Foundation reports, listen to this, an average annual family premium per enrolled employee for the employer-based insurance. An employee's contribution is $5,714. The employer contribution, $13,050, for a total premium of $18,764. At this point, PricewaterhouseCoopers, their health institute, projects a 6% increase for 2019. I don't know what our increase is going to be. But I asked the question, what is our cost per enrolled family premium? And what is the employee contribution?
We actually have a couple different plans. We do have, obviously, the unionized employees have plans. Some of our staff, we did actually move some of our staff to a less expensive plan, and we're in the process through our negotiations with a couple of our unions to move in the same direction to plans which are with the same company, very, very good plans, but sort of in an effort to try and do what you're just saying. But it is a part of a negotiation.
Okay. But you do agree for years we have been way beyond industry and reasonable standards. You know, now I want the Township complex. We all agree this building is not suitable for our present needs. It isn't. This building, while maintaining its existing structure, just the way it is, can and should be renovated to conform and accommodate what our real needs are. The cost is well within our objectives, and it'd be a wise allocation of resources. Now, I know it's a big and huge project, but it's a doable project. Most buildings are renovated, they're remodeled, and they're modernized. They're not torn down and rebuilt, as some people want to do with this building, at the cost that would exceed $26 million. I believe that the cost to renovate this building, to get it what we want, and to make it efficient, could be financed. I think it could be paid within 5 or 6 years without dependence on host fees, and they figure the estimate would be somewhere around $15 million. So I'm asking the board, at the very least, why don't we begin a feasibility study on the necessary renovation of this building? Let's get an idea what we're doing. We're sitting here, the budget is, you know, still flux, could still make changes. That's what we ought to do. Another change I'd like to see is the employment system and standards that we have, and most people have. Employee salaries should be based on qualifications, skills, experience, performance against the job description, and not on seniority or longevity. Let's set pay grades at minimum, middle, maximum for each job description, and employee earnings will no longer be hindered by time and grade. The employees would love this. Our employees deserve this. And finally, did you know that Bucks County Towns earned over $79 million from an EIT tax?
I knew it was coming. At some point, I knew it was coming.
Well, how are you going to pay for the renovation? Okay? We contribute about $3 or $4 million, and we received nothing. Now, in June 2014, I gave this board a report on municipalities within the counties. This was a thick one. Northampton, Lehigh, Montgomery, and Bucks that include the tax rate of non-residents EIT, total residential income tax, and total local services tax. Now, tonight, I'm going to give the board a copy of the official rates of an EIT, PIT, LST tax on every municipality in Bucks County. Right up to date, this is June 2018. All right? Now, I know you pay a EIT. I know the chairman does. I pay it. As a matter of fact, we pay, the three of us, the same township, our EIT. Now, with the proposed budget,
City wage, right?
yeah, it's appropriate to consider an EIT or a further study for one, right? Recognize the fiscal trends. We now have an opportunity, got an opportunity now, tonight, to expand our tax base. An EIT, for those people who don't know what it is, a lot of people pay it, don't even know they're paying it, would not be an additional tax or a levy on the overwhelming number of Falls residents. They wouldn't. Most people here are paying it. So understand an employee, for those that don't understand it, they don't pay an EIT where they work and where they live. Any tax within or withheld in another community, that tax, like the three of us are paying, would be remitted to the employee's resident jurisdiction. We're paying the tax to another town. It's supposed to be here. That's our money. I want it here. So based on the science and mathematics and a range of revenue estimates, what I found indicates we're subsidizing other townships between $3 and $4 million a year. That money belongs here in Falls Township.
Mr. Mariani, do you have
So-
to, are you wrapping up, Mr. Mariani, or?
Yeah,
The bell
this
went
is
off.
it.
So, okay, all right.
Okay? Falls Township EIT income, if you base that on the 13,170 households and use the Department of Commerce median household income, 67,000, or per capita 31,428, you're somewhere between $3.5 and $4.5 million. That's where we are. So I'm telling you, these are the few things that I'd like to see us do here tonight. I'm going to give you a copy, I'll leave with you a copy
Okay.
of the EIP for Bucks County and all the townships. This printout is a little bit different tonight.
Okay.
Because of the clip. The paper clips on here, don't throw them away, okay? They're gold. No, they're real gold. This is not a trick. They're real gold.
Are you bribing us? Is that
And
what
the
this is?
reason why, no, the reason why I included that is because every time you look at that paper clip, you're going to think about the $4 million you guys are giving away. So I'm going to give this to,
Ooh, watch yourself. No, don't break that. We'd have to raise taxes.
Disappointed, I have to tell you, Mr. Mariani. I'm disappointed.
Why?
No talk of leaf
I
factories.
was going to say, I thought you were going to say we could raise EITs.
Time's up,
and
time's up.
Turn off the mics.
he made fun of my little truck with the straw.
I like your little truck.
You
with
ought
the
to see
straw.
his truck outside. It's the one with the big crank on the top. All right, thank you, fellas. Please,
All right, thank you.
consider
I will.
the
I'll be honest with
renovation
you.
and the EIT.
I'll be honest. The one thing I'm not sure of, and we've talked about EIT several times. I know your friend Mr. Kinney, who's God rest his soul, he pushed for this a lot too. The one thing I'm not sure you're accurate about is I really don't know if most Falls residents already pay it, because I know the studies we've looked have found that. Obviously, because of our geography, we've got a lot of people that work in Jersey, and that's we don't get that money back. And then we obviously have people who might work in Falls. They don't pay it right now. City wage tax, Mr. Rocco pays. We're not getting that, no matter what because he works in Philadelphia. So, but it's certainly, it's always worth looking at every once in a while because you never know how things change. But I appreciate you bringing it up.
You had that figure.
Yeah,
we did.
Right, and it wasn't over.
At 4 years ago, it was 48% here.
Okay. It may have changed. All right. Thank you. Motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, is there a motion to advertise the budget for 2019?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Clark, paging Mike Clark.
He's got a mouthful of crackers right now.
Mike Clark.
There it is.
Yeah.
Remember that number being in the minority. It was in the 36. I made a note. I'm gonna find
It's under 40. It's under 40.
Yeah, it was low.
I thought it was like 38 or something, 36 or something.
Got
Yeah.
crumbs on their chin.
Let's get some.
Mike.
Yeah. Comes in your beard. Get some
Crumbs on your beard.
cracker crumbs in your beard. Yeah. Okay.
I was eating Fritos.
Okay.
I can smell 'em.
All right, the next item on the agenda is authorization for advertising for an ordinance, amending chapter 188. This regards streets. There it is here. Okay, and any road work that's done on our streets. Mr. Clark, do you want to summarize this for us?
Yes, Mr. Harvey. As the board is aware, and most of the residents of the township are aware, over the last several years or decade, the township has spent a considerable amount of money with the road program redoing most, if not all, of the streets within the township. This ordinance, essentially, if passed, will ensure that any contractor or utility that comes in to do work in the township and digs up our roads because they're putting in new pipes or they're putting in new fiber optic cable or whatever, would need to return the road as nearly as possible to the condition that they found it, instead of simply just patching the road. So what this ordinance, if adopted, will do is will set standards by which anyone coming in, once they get a permit to dig into our roads, will set standards for how they have to repair the road once they're done.
Okay. All right, any comments or questions from board members? This is just advertisement this evening.
Yeah, none.
None.
Okay.
Surprised we don't already have this ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other townships have it.
A lot do. We were surprised we didn't have it either. Oh.
So, okay. All right, so again, this is advertisement. Is there a motion to advertise the ordinance to Chapter 188?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Minutes for October 16th, 2018. Any corrections, suggestions, comments?
No.
If not, is there a motion to approve the
Excellent
minutes?
minutes as always,
There
Mrs.
we go.
Pullen, and I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, it's Mrs. Mole took those minutes. I'm sorry.
That's right. Yeah. Never mind, Mrs. Pullen. You didn't,
Yeah.
Take back the compliment. Okay, engineers report. Mr. Sullivan, you've been pretty quiet this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Yes. The one highlight I want to focus on would be the 2018 road program, which is moving along. On Walton Drive, they finished the curb work on the Eleanor Roosevelt side of the street. They're going to begin tearing the curb out on the other side. Once the two curbs are complete and poured, then they're going to want to start tearing up the road. Chief and I are going to talk about what kind of traffic pattern we can have while they're doing that at the school. There's a potential we have people come in the back instead of trying to come in through the front. It would only be for maybe a week or two if all works out correctly. So that's something we'll be looking into. Storm sewer has also begun on Share Drive. So the project is, they have two crews out there, so they're moving along pretty well.
Okay.
St. Joseph's Court, they have 5 houses ready for occupancy. So we won't let them occupy until there's, a safe route to those houses. The streets are basically paved. And at the boat ramp, the docks have been put away for the wintertime as of last Friday.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan?
No.
No.
None.
Yeah, the St. Joe's Court, when are they going to pave the road?
Well, at this point, it's going to
Sure
be
they're in
binder.
a hurry.
I mean, it's going to be binder. They're not going to be able to top pave at this time of year.
Well, I mean, when are we going to allow them in? I mean, if we're...
As soon as there is a safe access to those structures, that would mean sidewalks in place, the road paved where people can drive on it, and paved driveways.
Yeah, it's a mess over there. They got so
Yeah.
much going on, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's getting tight for asphalt, right?
Yeah, I mean, they can still do binder, 40 degrees and rising. But there's no way they're going to pave the top coat until they get more complete done with the development itself.
So that's, you're talking spring.
Yeah.
When do you think they're going to have sidewalks and things like that? Have you talked to them about that?
They will not get a certificate of occupancy, and they think they're ready. So if they're not done yet, they will be.
They will be.
Yeah, you can pour concrete this time of year easily.
Yeah.
And in binder course, 40 degrees is a rule of thumb, but with binders, you can go a little bit colder than that.
So would you be surprised if it was like sometime in December? Or?
I would not be surprised if it was sometime in December.
Okay. Cool. People are asking. People are actually saying that we're holding them up, and that we are in this case.
Well, we
for the
may
right
be
reasons.
holding it up because they're not done.
Yeah.
It's not the township holding it up because
Yeah, we have nothing else to do.
We're falling down or whatever. So
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, the other thing I want to hit on, this is potentially sort of the headline of the whole night. The Wawa, I saw in your memo here, there's been sort of mystery and probably office pools around the township.
A lot of speculation.
The Wawa is going in, and the Rite Aid is already built, and there was a small pad for a small restaurant that they have constructed. And I know there was much hope, especially in my house, for a Chick-fil-A. Not for me, but my daughter. But in your memo actually says...
White Castle. Oh.
No.
yeah,
Sorry.
rumor has it's a McDonald's.
Apparently it's going to be a McDonald's.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. There's one just like right down the road, so I'm not
There-
really
yeah.
sure of that. But
So they always called it a restaurant. So
it could be a giant sigh of sort of
disappointment.
Yeah, disappointment throughout the township when this meeting airs tomorrow. So we'll see. So I know Mr. Gray was hoping for, but probably not. Well, I don't think he cares actually.
I don't think he cares, actually.
Yes, fast food
Wawa going in.
is for him. Oh, yeah, he's got the Wawa. That's all he needs. All right, is there a motion to approve the engineer's report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, bill list for November 20th in the amount of $2,662,648.98, so about almost $6.7 million. Of that $6.7 million, 1.6 roughly is salary, about $300,000 is healthcare, a little bit over $300,000 actually. There's about $21,000 contribution to the USO. $23,000 for the removal of trees, which we heard about from the ash borer, $281,000 for roads, about $14,000 in fuel costs. Roughly, there's just again a handful of items, 7 or 8 items that total about 2.2 million of the roughly 7, and everything else is a wide range of things. Comments or questions from or for Mr. Gray or Ms. Rukoff while she's here regarding the bill list?
None.
None.
No? Okay, is there a motion to pay the bills, $2,662,648.98?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Okay, we had an executive session earlier. Police Department report, Chief, you're up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. I'll try to be as fast as possible. I know this has been a long night. First of all, I know most of you gentlemen are aware of this, but I want to make the public aware of it. A week ago today, the men and women of your police department furnished 100 dinners at a luncheon for the senior citizens. Did a great job. Not only did they furnish the food, They served the food and they cleaned up. They did a wonderful job, and this is the second year in a row. And this is proof that your men and women of your police department are giving back, and I think it's very important that we put it out there. Senior Citizen will be hosting Coffee with a Cop next Thursday, December 3rd, from 9:30 to 11. Not only the seniors, they want everybody's welcome in the municipality. We traditionally have a very good turnout at the Senior Citizens when we do it, and any member of the board that happens to be off, you come in. There's a lot of good dialogue back and forth between us and the seniors and the people in the community. Turning our sights to our detective bureau, our detectives over the last couple of weeks have made some significant arrests. Two of our detectives, Detective Vela and Detective Coppin, have made two significant arrests in dealing with children, endangering the welfare of children, recklessly endangering another person, possession of counterfeit controlled substance. I bring this to your attention because these are things on our Crime Watch page that you can look at and you can get the details of this, and it's significant that we get it out there. Our detectives presently are investigating two significant burglaries. One occurred at the Oxford Valley Pharmacy, the other at Country Farms. Details and links and any tips that anybody in the community could help our detective bureau with, you can go on the Crime Watch page, hit on there, and you can do it anonymously. I'm putting it out there because right now they're kind of at a standstill, those two burglaries. On 11/14, your police department, along with Bristol Township, Bristol Borough, Middletown, Bucks County District Attorney's Drug Task Force, Mercer County Drug Task Force, Trenton PD, Philadelphia PD, and the Pennsylvania State Police engaged in a drug operation. The objective was to address a drug ring operating out of the city of Trenton, supplying heroin to the residents in Lower Bucks County and beyond. We estimate the ring was responsible for distributing approximately 6 to 1,000 bags of heroin a day throughout the area. Working with these other agencies, we were the lead agency on this. We started this. We made 11 total arrests, 4 of them drug dealers and the other 7 drug buyers. We seized 2,510 bags of heroin and 2 vehicles. Search warrants were executed throughout the area. As a result of this operation, we have dismantled a major drug dealing operation distributing heroin in Lower Bucks County. More arrests are expected in the future. I just want to point out, and Mr. Galloway, John Galloway will be very happy with this, that the initial tip came from Push Out the Pusher tip line. And finally, I just want everybody to keep in mind, with Thanksgiving coming on, if you're traveling, this is the biggest travel holiday of the year. Let your neighbors know that if you're going away, put porch lights on. You can call the county operations and let them know, and they'll have the information. Should anybody have any questions about what's going on at your house, you can do that. Also, with the Christmas season coming up, once again, Christmas shopping, make sure you lock your cars, take your presents that you purchase, put them in the trunk. Don't let them sit out in the seat, because people just smash your windows and they'll do it. Park under well-lit areas. If you're at the mall, get as close to the major buildings as possible. These are tips that, it'll save you, it may save your life. But, and once again, there have been multiple thefts from unlocked autos at the Commons of Falsington and Hedgerow Woods Development. Please be sure to lock your doors and not leave valuables inside your car. Any questions, gentlemen?
Comments or questions for Chief Wilcox?
No questions.
No.
None, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, the only thing I wanted to ask, I know it's been kind of pushed off the news recently, but I know several weeks ago around the country there were a rash of accidents, horrible accidents involving people going past school buses. I don't know if there's something, I've been meaning to reach out to the superintendent to see if we can work with something. If their bus drivers know of any particular areas where that's happening, where we can work with our cops and set up something where we can start hammering people. I don't know if our cops, I'm assuming obviously they do this already, but.
What's happening, Mr. Harvey, is school bus drivers report to their boss. Their boss gets in touch with one of our lieutenants, and we follow that up on a daily basis. Lieutenant Whitney has been very proactive in that area.
Good. That's good to hear. I'm sure the parents of the Pennsbury and Pennsbury kids will be glad to hear that too. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Have a nice evening, and a happy Thanksgiving to
Thank you. Same
everyone
to you.
here. Thank you.
Manager comment, Mr. Gray?
Yes, thank you. I just have a few items tonight. First item is in regard to a donation request. The Township recently received a request from Towns Against Graffiti, or TAG, for the Township's annual donation for their program. In the 2018 budget, the Township included $5,000 for this program. The board is asked to consider this donation.
Okay. Comments or questions?
Yeah, I think last year, didn't they include statistics?
They did. We did not receive that this year, but we have requested the police department to get that information. I will forward that to you shortly.
Yeah, or if you can just ask them going forward. But
Sir.
it was a lot. They came and did a lot of work for us, so.
I know twice this year, I saw 2 spots with graffiti, called Pete, he called them, and within a day it was gone.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They
One of
cleaned
them
up
was on a
stuff, they cleaned
residential
up stuff for me as well, like down by our little league that was coming back and coming back. Did a nice job.
Okay. All right, sir, is there a motion to make the $5,000 donation to Towns Against Graffiti, which is called TAG?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Second?
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Bransky?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
I just want to announce new businesses that opened during the month of October 2018. They include 830 West Trenton Avenue, Suite 6 in Morrisville, Ninorel Insurance, 242 West Trenton Avenue in Morrisville, Progressive Living Units, 2 Wild Rose Lane in Levittown, Progressive Living Units, 81 Big Oak Road, Suite 110, Morrisville, Elite Massage Therapy of BC. Also, I just want to announce that there are Mylars ready for signature. They include Kent's Tree Service and Air Gas. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Board comment, Mr. Rocco?
No, nothing tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Dents?
Just wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, Mr. Bransky?
No, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Galloway?
Just the same. Everyone have a good holiday.
Yeah, obviously, a very happy Thanksgiving to everyone, his staff here, all the residents of Falls Township. We are going to have a special meeting on December 4th, which is the first Tuesday. We have a pretty large update to our zoning code, which we decided to sort of do because it's such a large process, and it's a project that's been going on for several years now to kind of update our zoning codes here in the township. So we are going to meet at 7 o'clock on December 4th here in this room, and we'll make that public on the website and everywhere else as well. And we actually I neglected to ask Mr. Clark to publicly introduce his colleague who's here this evening, sitting in for Ms. Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. This is a newer member of our firm, Valentina Nicola.
Okay. All right. And so usually what the new person does is some kind. No, I'm going to kid. Never mind. All right.
Pizza?
Yeah, the pizza. Well, that's it. Yeah, pizza. You know, and it's usually some kind of a song or something. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.